Hello traders, it's Samurai Trader here. Welcome to this training session. In this session today we're going to be discussing a number of trading strategies that will get you well on your way to achieving your target of up to $400 a day per contract. Most of you know that is my target to hit within the first 2 to 3 hours, or my 2 to 3 hour window of trading. My personality is, and I don't have the time or the inclination to really sit by the screens all day. Personally, I find it exhausting as a day trader. So I'm going to be showing you 4 live trades that I took and explaining exactly what I did and why I took these trades. Now we're specifically going to be looking at counter trend trading today. As you hear me preach time and time again, you do not start counter trend trading until you are profitable as a trend trader. Absolutely critical, because counter trend trading is a higher risk form of trading, even though, as you'll see, it can be very profitable. But I've been doing this for over 23 years now, so it makes it a lot easier. And even then, you want to really focus in on the types of counter trend trades that you take. And of course we cover these comprehensively in the Day Traders Fast Track program, so I'm just going to cover them briefly in today's session. Now if you haven't already done so, please go to full screen, and you can do that down here in the bottom right hand corner. As always, I need to mention the risk, and please feel free to stop your recording if you're new to one of my videos and you haven't read the risk. Please read the risk. Very important. As I say in every session, don't trade with the rent money. So all of this, as I mentioned, is covered in the Day Traders Fast Track program, but let's go and jump straight on to the charts. Now this is some trading I did 2 or 3 days ago, and I've been meaning to go back and record this session. Now this is after the main market is closed, so in Los Angeles it's after 1:30 p.m. I should say. The markets have closed. It's just after 4:30 New York time. So this is a fantastic market, the futures market, for traders to trade basically 24 hours a day. Now of course, for my FOREX traders, or those watching this that are FOREX traders, these setups work exactly the same on the FOREX market. Now for the sake of this exercise, we're looking at a 55 tick chart, and of course these setups work in all time frames and all markets. So a couple of key points I want to make here is this, that because I trade from 3:30 a.m. through to about 6 a.m. I've usually wrapped up, but then at times I'll jump on and fire off a few trades after hours or in the afternoon, the ones that I'm about to show you. But beforehand, so I do want to show you the market closes. We can see here it reopens. We had a classic little double bottom here. It went up. You would have had a loss here. This was a classic T2. That was a loss. Then we come up and we had there a little double top, and away it went. Now what I wanted to show you here was this, is some trades that I took, and let me just scroll along, and actually let me go back a little more because I want to show you something really important here. Traders, you hear me talk about pivot trading regularly, particularly if you listen to my recordings on a regular basis, or if you're one of my students, you'll know I refer to pivots every single day. Pivots are absolutely critical that you understand or you monitor pivots. Now every software program, nearly every software program I should say now, has inbuilt pivots in where you can apply pivot programs, and you can see here these are these lines here: open, high, low and close of a previous day. They become support resistance areas, and as I'm about to show you on the ES futures, I'll draw in horizontal lines as well for support and resistance areas, and I'll show you some trades in a moment that I took off that. Now you can see here the pivots, we come down and we bounce between pivots or off pivots all the time. However, not all pivots are the same. In other words, some are calculated differently, and it even comes down to how you have your data displayed. For an example, on mine here, I have this set at local time. Now if I made that exchange time, which I won't do at the moment because it'll change where I am on the chart. It'll change where the pivots lay. So what you want to do, traders, is to play around with the pivot program you have, and once again, Google it. On most trading forums now you can get pivot programs free of charge for virtually every software program there is. So let me explain 2 divergence trades that I took here. Now I'm going to explain the high risk one that I took, but I've been doing this for a long time, and the other thing here is that I have my probability and statistics, and that is, I know how high my percentage of these are when I take them. Now this particular trade I took here, it was actually a T89 without divergence, and my students know exactly what a T89 is, and I got in before the candle closed because of my reversal candle right there. Now my stop I put 3 ticks above the pivot. So when you have a trade that you enter, as over here, you make sure your stop is above the pivot, because like we see here and even down here, pivots will come down and bounce. Here it went through a little further, but usually you'll bounce right off it, and that's what happened. So I shorted 10 contracts, and perhaps if I can just I won't move it right now, but you'd see there that was 10, and over here I exited the 10, and I then took out another 10 here, because what I had here was perfect divergence, which is what we call a T19A. So I had a T89 here, I had a T19A along with a divergence plus a pivot bounce. Traders, these are extremely high probability trades. Let me say that again. When you have a pivot bounce with divergence and a T89 or a T19A, they are extremely high probability. Now at the same time, exactly the same thing was happening on the ES, which I'll refer to because something different was happening there, which we'll go to and have a look at the chart in a moment. But what I want to point out here is the risk management. Now my trades, I only allow, or I execute a 0.5% risk per trade on my account. So here I shorted 10 contracts here, and I shorted 10 here, so that's 1% of my account. And on the ES, almost exactly the same time, I shorted 10 and 10. So my risk factor was around 2% totally combined. Now it's absolutely critical, and in the course of we cover risk management, that you never ever risk in total more than 2%. So if your account size is smaller, you may only be able to enter one particular trade. Now if that is the case, what's the highest probability trade for you? Well, here, this particular trade, the first T89 I took, was a high risk. Why? Number one, it's a counter trend trade. Number two, the candle hadn't closed. Number three, I hadn't bounced off the pivot. So there's a whole lot of reasons why this is a higher risk trade, and I hadn't closed under the 8 EMA. However, probabilities, so I entered, I was willing to roll the dice on this particular one. Now it came down, we had a little T2 form, and then come up and bounced, and then I had a perfect double top pivot bounce with divergence. Traders, beautiful, right? These are just sweet trades. So I was short 20 contracts. That's $1,400. Thank you very much. Less about, what was it, $92 or whatever it was in brokerage for the 20 contracts. So very sweet. New traders, or you would not be taking these. It's a lot safer taking your trend trades. The more experienced traders, wait for your divergence on these until you know your statistics. And what that means is you need to take every single one. You can't cherry pick these because the stats are on your side, but you've got to be in it to win it. Very important. So divergence, and the other thing too is with these types of trades, with divergence trades, really good ones, and they're really the odds in your favor that you're going to get a great risk reward on these. Now you can see here I could have easily squeezed out 20-30 ticks out of this one, I got 14, and most of you know me, I'm a scalper, that's why I get out. But here you could have easily got another 14 out of this. So on your counter trends, unless you're going to take every one, or unless you're really experienced, you want to be going for a higher return. For every dollar you risk, ideally you want to be targeting $2. Now what you can do just to keep it safe, you can trail your stops. Just remember though, with tick charts, at times they can move fairly quickly. Now down here then we had a lovely little pivot bounce off there, and let's just go along with another little double top here. 200B bounces, very high probability. But notice all our moving averages are now rolling over, and we did have a T10 here, but notice the big candles. Be very cautious on trading big candles, traders, because you can see what happened. Big candle bounced off for 200 and away it went. In other words, and I don't think I've said this in this session, fall over 34. Now there's something else I want to show you. It is my time. It is now Friday afternoon the 16th, so it's of course Thursday night, late Thursday night in the US. So this morning after the market reopened, you can see here we rallied up. We had a beautiful T89 for my T89 traders. We had a 34 bounce, but have a look at this, and let me do a trend line. Okay, so what have we got down here? So we've got another beautiful divergence trade. Now when you are within, and your entry would have been for the traders there was down here, you can still count these as double tops even if you go up 2 or 3 ticks. Okay, give yourself a bit of leeway. But look at this here, you had beautiful divergence on the platinum. You had basically formed them really a triple top, then it fell away, you bounced on your 89 before it then collapsed away, and once again follow your 34. Now let's now have a look at the trades I took on the ES. So traders, this is the same day a couple of days ago, except oh, you probably can't see them, it's just below the bottom of your screen there, the times. Here I'm on exchange times rather than local times. So you can see up here I had a little bounce off resistance, and that was not a pivot line, that was off resistance from a higher time frame. Down here we had then some little double bottoms, little double tops, but here's what I want to show you is this here. So moving along, we can see up here that this is where I shorted. So you can see, you can just see it here. I exited both of these exactly on 8 ticks. Now 8 ticks on the ES is $100, so it's $12.50 a tick, or $50 a point, 4 ticks to a point. So I shorted 10 contracts. Now I had a 6 tick stop on this particular trade, and it was taken almost exactly the same time as I executed the trade on the NQ, which is bouncing off the pivot. So here I had resistance from a swing high earlier, and so it went up, but it went up and it ticked up 5 ticks, so I was getting a little concerned. Now remember what I mentioned on the NQ. Unless you're going to, or unless you really know your stuff, wait till you have divergence, or you get a beautiful double top or a double top against your resistance, or if you're on support. Here we then had great divergence once again, okay, and I had another entry right there. So and it was exactly the same point. So here I shorted there, my stop there was 6 ticks up above that high point, and my target was on the 200 right there, and you can see it would have been good for another point, but here I got out, and that was a really nice start to my new day, the NQ trades and then the ES. I was out there. Then look what happened. We tend to just bounce around between this support and resistance area before then it collapsed away. We had down here another T89. I didn't take those. I'd actually wrapped up for the day at that stage, so that was really nice. So the point I want to get across here is these little double bottoms and double tops, when you have them, that when you've got divergence as we have here, or a double top against or with the trend, I should say, for a much higher probability trade. So traders, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And of course, I cover all of these setups comprehensively in the Fast Track program for $197. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do, or purchase the program where you'll get all of these described in detail over 12 different strategies. Thank you, traders, and I'll see you on the next training video.